I don't know if it is because I'm such a marketing nerd, but have you ever asked yourself why there are some companies that just seem to dominate marketing? Everyone's talking about them. They're getting all the retweets, they're getting all the shares, and they're doing this and dominating the market, even though there's another company that seems to have more resources, more experience, more, let's say better staff. And there's just this discrepancy on what you expect, like big resources should lead to big results, but actually at times this underdog is actually gaining space. And the reason behind this, I would say, is that in marketing, at least those who understand marketing know that actually small is big. And by small, I mean focusing on one single idea and doing just a little bit. Some people call it, say the same thing in 1,000 different ways. Doing this is actually better than what usually big companies or companies with big resources or with big marketing strategies do, which is that they go in a boardroom, they brainstorm all these magnificent ways in which they're going to gain a competitive angle in the market. And then they just have messages all over the place. So, they have 20 value propositions, so they talk about the 20. They have 20 features, so they talk about 20. There's a potential to just hit millions of people. So they try to get millions of people all at once. And in doing so, they dilute their message. They're not known. They are unable to carve out a space in the customer's minds. Unlike the underdog, or like the person or the company or the team who knows how marketing works, that simply decides, hey, what's the one thing that we could be known for? And then they go for that. And today I want to briefly explore just that. And it's essentially why I think, after working with 60 plus companies and directing marketing, I'm going to try to convince you to go a little bit narrower, to narrow your focus so that you can actually unlock more profit, but more importantly, market share, and are able to impact more lives, and probably more of the lives that you already want to impact. And focus at its core, it's all about sacrifice. As I was hinting at before, it's about saying, hey, we have 10 features, 10 value propositions, 10 pain points, 10 desires and dreams and anecdotes and stories that we can tell at all times. Let's not even say 10, let's say 100. And let's actually talk about one. Let's actually reflect back on how we act ourselves. Realize that when we have hundreds of Netflix options, we don't know what to watch, and hundreds of Tinder matches, we don't know who to date. And when we have hundreds of restaurants from which to deliver from, we have no idea what to eat tonight. Let's actually consider that perhaps just like us, who are overwhelmed by options and by messages, other people might also be overwhelmed. And let's just make their lives easier by saying, hey, out of all the things we could be talking about, we're only going to be talking about one, which is why the steps that I'm going to go and share with you are all about sacrifice. And that's the kind of position that I want you to be able to hold in people's minds. And to do that, we're going to go and do this through 4 different steps. The first step is simply to define your core strength. This means what you're best at, what you're most known for, how you get customers the most results, what's continuously being talked about or highlighted. Define it. Look for a competitive angle that you can consistently highlight, and just write it down for now. Then on step number 2, I want you to actually cut the fluff. And by fluff, I mean any product, feature, story, anecdote, idea, marketing message that it's true and that it's actually beneficial for you to talk about, or like on a hypothetical level, but it's not connected to this other thing. So for example, if you're the language learning app that is capable of getting people to learn languages 10 times faster, but you're also affordable, I don't want to be talking about how affordable you are, because now you added the message of affordability and on top of the message of 5 times learning. I don't want you to do any of that. I want you to list every single message that you could be talking about, feature, product, audience, all of that. And if it's not aligned with your core strength, you take it out. And you take it out up to the point at which you get to step number 3, which is the verifying step. And it's a verifying step of, I want you to look into Reddit, into Facebook, into ads, into, hire a competitor research firm, ask ChatGPT how to do it. Basically, I want you to go ahead and look for insights into what people think about your competitors, what they think about you, and more importantly, when they think about competitors, what do they think about? Because if you're a language learning app and there's already a competitor that people associate to learning languages faster, I don't want you to go with that strength. And the reason is simple, you can probably anticipate it. I don't want you to go with that strength because people are already thinking about that strength or associating that strength to a competitor, which means that if you try to talk about the same thing, which is what companies usually do, You're gonna get into a competition of who's better. So who's better at getting people to learn faster? And marketing is not about who's better or not. It's about who do people think about the fastest when they think about a category. And people kind of think about you the fastest if they have to think about hundreds of things when they think about you, which is why we're trying to make it simpler. We're trying to find that single idea that one you talk about. And once you have that, once you define your strength, you cut the fluff, and you verify that you actually have a space in the market and that no one's talking about that strength and it's something that you're happy to actually test, I want you to do the fourth thing. And the fourth step is to actually align everything you're saying and everything you're doing to that strength. So if you're the language learning app by which people can learn 5 times faster, your team should be aligned on creating features that help with that. Your marketing should help with that. Your press releases should talk about that. Everything should revolve around that single idea. Because in aligning what you're doing to that single idea is that you're capable of having a slight chance of even appealing to a single person. And this goes back to the early stage of the video in which I basically spoke about what people usually do. The way marketers think is the more approaches we have, the more angles, content pillars, the more ads that we do, the more chances we'll have to get to someone. The more audiences we attack, well, the more audiences that can buy from us. But after directing so much work, I would say that's very far from the truth. Usually in a space where everything is super crowded and everyone's trying to get everyone's attention, the only chance you have comes from actually saying, hey, let me drop all these cool things that I could talk about, and let me talk about one. So that at least when people think about that one thing, they think about us. And if that thing is something that you can sustain for a long time and profit from and be known for, trust me that those other audiences that you want to attack now that I'm telling you, hey, let's actually pause on them, let's focus on one single audience, eventually they will be coming. I'm not saying you cannot go and target multiple audiences with multiple messages on multiple platforms. What I'm saying is that the more things you add, the harder it is for people to remember you or to even know you exist. When you think about a company like FedEx, the way in which they stood out before was essentially focusing on overnight delivery. There were hundreds of things they were doing, hundreds of value propositions, but they said, hey, let us actually just call or highlight overnight delivery across all our marketing channels. And you know what happened? People remember them. And they remember it because of overnight deliveries. And it got to a point in which people would not say, let me send this overnight. They just said, let me FedEx this. So remember, in marketing, less is actually more. And less is more, not because I'm telling you, hey, if you're talking about one idea, you're actually talking about 1,000. It's not in that way. It's because by talking about one single idea in 1,000 different ways, what we're actually doing is opening up the door for a chance to actually be in the mind of the customer. And if you have that chance, all the opportunities that you want right now, which are related to you want to basically inundate every single market with every single message with a bunch of features, all those opportunities only open up if you first open up the initial door, which is to be known for something. Once you're known for something, there's probably going to be a future video for you. Once people are talking about you in every single social platform, and when they think about, let's say, 5 times language learned, they're thinking about you, for sure, there will be a future video, and we can talk about how you can talk about other things, assuming that's an option. For now, if you're not known, just realize that the more you do, the more opportunities you're actually opening up for the future, because you're opening up a future in which you actually exist, in which you're known, in which people think about you. And that's probably better than just highlighting 1,000 different features and for people not to be able to describe you in any sort of way.